For centuries, Mennonites were known for their migrations and wanderings. A variety of factors contributed to their relocation to places like Prussia, Germany, Canada, Mexico, Paraguay, Bolivia, and Belize. This past week, a historical Mennonite house barn made its own journey, albeit a short 25-kilometer relocation from Niehorst to the National Historical Village of Neubergthal. The project was undertaken by Hilda and Elmer Hildebrand, and following the day-long odyssey, which was not without its challenges, as the house barn was being placed onto its new foundation, Hilda stopped by our studio to explain why.
One of the reasons that Elmer and I have been part of this project is, I guess, just the love of architecture itself and history and community. It's a whole combination of things that have really kind of come together for us in this house barn. The architecture of house barns and the landscape of the village settlement pattern offer a window into the early Mennonite settlers who settled here in the 1870s. They started coming here in the 1870s. And the barn comes from that period, and the house, I believe, is early 1880s, although some of that's still being evaluated. The architecture speaks to what was important to them, their relationships with one another as a faith community, their mutually supportive practices, both in times of need, and just general lifestyle practices, as well as their relationship with land and animals. I recall listening to my grandfather talk about farming as a sacred vocation, and that is also very much reflected from that earlier period. As well, it says something about their connection with the outside world. Much of the footprint of the Mennonite villages and settlement patterns have been abandoned for more contemporary lifestyles. And yet it is important to know our history, our Canadian history. The move and the planned restoration of the Neuhorst house in the village of Neubergthal is an effort to build on the efforts that have already been taking shape in the village of Neubergthal, a designated heritage site. Remembering and restoring the structures of our collective past and intentionally seeking to shed light on the values of what it meant to live in those communities at that time is as important as ever. Reflecting on the structures and the values of our past, we can perhaps find some clues into how to live in community today in ways where we can be less isolated and be good neighbors in the 21st century.
As you kind of fitting that the whole house move, it began its trek as the sun rose and arrived at its new location as the sun set.
It did, and it was so beautiful to see this house barn. No, it was just the barn that came last, and the sun was setting behind it, and you could see the rays of red light streaming between the boards, because this is hardly an intact barn. The beams inside are beautiful, but there's so many of the boards are missing. And there was this amazing beauty, seeing the streams of light coming through those boards, and it rested in its new cradle at sunset.